NFL Week 2. This is the Pete's Parlay Show here at SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Last week my parlay was kind of crappy. The supposed sharp sides also all lost. Public supposedly had a very good week last week. All the ugly underdogs that Brent told us the sharps like last week lost. So week 2 is an interesting week. A lot of sharp and public splits again here. First one, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Public all over New Orleans at -10 or whatever, and the sharps did take Tampa Bay, according to Brent from BetDSI, at 10.5 and 10. So that's a notable game. St. Louis and Washington, once again, a sharp public split game. Public on St. Louis, sharps once again taking Washington. Mike Brenner, brand new handicapper, had 2 winners with us in the NFL in week 1. Made that one of his picks this week, St. Louis. So public on St. Louis. Mike Brenner's on St. Louis. Sharps supposedly on Washington, as they were last week, and lost with Washington last week. Sharps took Seattle. Sharps did take Seattle when it was 3.5 against Green Bay. That's pretty interesting. And maybe, and also the Pats and Bills has also a sharp public split. Pats taking the public action. Indianapolis Colts took public action last week, and the public got burned. That was one of the losers for the public. But maybe the most interesting sharp side of the week, according to Brent from BetDSI, is Indianapolis. According to Brent, the sharps bit on Indianapolis at -6 and 6.5, and of course the public is also on Indianapolis. So that's interesting. One-way action as of right now on the Monday night game. Sharps taking Indy as a big home favorite. And of course, also I previewed that game with Al McMorty from BigAl.com. You watch that video, and he also likes Indianapolis and gave his always compelling reasons for why. So let's get into the picks that I almost took, but I'm decided not to include. There were a lot of borderline picks this week, and for various reasons, I just decided to. God, I get so nervous when I'm trying to decide on these parlay picks. I definitely care a lot more about the picks that I give in public than the bets I actually make with money. But there were a lot of borderline picks. First one that was very borderline, the over in Tampa Bay, New Orleans. I previewed that game with Brandon Chidley from GameDayInsiders.com. We all know that he tends to be right more often than wrong. When I first handicapped that game, I was thinking the over 47 was a good play. That turned out to be the play that he gave on that one. You know, we know that both these defenses very suspect. Winston, wouldn't be surprised if he had a big game early in the year against a suspect defense. Now it's 47.5 at DSI. Of course, I always use DSI lines for this show. I think I still like the over. Just at the last minute, I decided to, maybe the game plans will be a little bit more conservative. Winston's still not acclimated to the NFL, and Drew Brees getting on in years. Maybe they'll try to protect him a little bit. So I held off on that one for the purposes of the parlay. Then another one that I thought of, Cincinnati. This just feels like one of these weeks where Andy Dalton looks like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and the Bengals look like a Super Bowl caliber team. Right now, -3, -120 over San Diego. The new tight end looks great for Cincinnati. Line's just a little bit too steep. I considered taking them on the money line at -165, -3, -120. That's how I'm leaning. If it had been maybe 2 or 2.5, I might have bit. But at -3, -120, I decided to pass on it for the purpose of this parlay. Then another one, very borderline. I almost went with the under 41.5 in Miami, Jacksonville. The Dolphins, the Redskins ran well against Miami last week. You got to figure that Jacksonville will try to repeat that kind of success. So I'm guessing a lot of running from Jacksonville, maybe more, somewhat modest struggles in the offense with Tannehill for Miami offensively, and the defense with Sue steps up. So that was a very, very borderline pick. 41.5, just at the last minute, I just sort of had visions of like a 22-20 kind of final score, 23-20, something like that. So I like that one, under 41.5 in Miami, Jacksonville. Just decided that the total of 41.5 is a little bit too low for me to decide to include it in this parlay. Then there were a few more borderline picks, but I'll skip over that for now. Let's just get to the picks. I have 4 picks this week, NFL Week 2, and 2 of them are going to come from Houston and Carolina. And when I handicapped this game, my initial leans were Houston and the over. And then when I when I discussed the betting action with Brent from BetDSI, he told me that those were both sharp sides. That the sharps took the over when it was at 38.5, and they took Houston, and the public is on Carolina. Maybe I'm being a little bit too reliant on Brent from BetDSI here to confirm my initial leans, but I liked Houston when I first handicapped the game. I liked the over when I first handicapped the game. So those are my two picks. I'm going to take Houston +3 -110 and the over. Right now at DSI, the over is 39.5 -111. Mallet starting for Houston. Got a strong arm. Houston does have a pretty good and deep receiving core. So, if there's a lot of successful passing from Houston in this game, which there could be, that probably spells cover for Houston and an over. Then the next pick that I'm going to go with, to prove that I'm not completely reliant on Brent and reports of sharp action, I'm going to go against a pick that was reported to me by Brent as being a sharp side. Brent told me that the sharps came in on the under 45.5 in New England Buffalo. When I first looked at this game, I was leaning towards the over 45. Now it's down to 44 at BetDSI, and I'll make that my third pick this week. New England Buffalo over 44 -110. I think that Tyrod Taylor, young quarterback, he'll be able to get something done for Buffalo against New England's defense. And as good as Buffalo's defense legitimately is, Brady and Gronk and all those other guys with his receivers probably will be able to at least be modestly effective. And if you just look over the history of New England and Buffalo's recent games, they tend to be pretty high scoring, and Buffalo's had a great defense all those years as well. So I'm going to take the over 44 -110. That is going directly against a reported sharp play from Brent. And then the last play I'm going to go with, I am going to take Dallas with the points over Philly. Right now the line is +4.5. Earlier in the week it was 5 or 5.5. Obviously I'd much rather have that, but at +4.5 -110, I'll take it. Yes, I know Des Bryant is out. Huge loss for Dallas, but they still have Romo. They still have an awesome offensive line, and they still have other weapons on offense, including Witten. And I just get the feeling, just get the sense that as explosive as Philly is at times, and as admittedly improved as their defense is probably going to be this year, just seem like the kind of team that doesn't really dominate for all four quarters. They're either going to be down in the first half and then come back in the second half, or be blowing teams out in the first half and then let them back in the second half. And if that's the case, Dallas can definitely take advantage whenever Philly goes into one of their lulls. I'll take it. Dallas +4.5 -110. So those are the four sides to the parlay this week. I'm going to do a $20 round robin of 3s and 4s. And that's $100 to win $719.37 if all four sides win. And if three of them win, still wins a little bit. Houston +3, Carolina over 39.5 -111, Buffalo over 44, and Dallas +4.5. And that's the Pete's Parlay for NFL Week 2.